Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It is another episode of NRG Insights. It's a little bit different at the moment, so we're doing a new series at the moment called Rising Stars, and this is for the young talent in the industry. As we all know, us old folk, that it is becoming increasingly harder to get new blood into the industry. So I thought it would be keen to get people on who are making waves at the moment and coming in and discussing how they got in and what they need and how it kind of differs. Basically, I think it's useful for business owners and employees alike to kind of learn what the next generation needs. So today I have got George from Avonmore. Thanks for joining me, George.
Hi, Marcus. Good to see you.
Neat. So I've got Sam Hutchins with me. Thanks for joining me, Sam.
Thanks for having me, mate.
That's all right, no problem at all. So let's start. Talk to me about what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm a specialist mortgage advisor. Work at a company based down in Dorset along the south coast called Blueberry Specialist Lending. Qualified as an advisor about 2.5 years ago. But at the moment, just keep trying to grow, keep trying to learn, and really get stuck in there.
Nice. And so, what did you do? How did you get into the industry?
So I actually joined a big corporate. I joined Nationwide. I left sixth form. A lot of my friends were going to university, learning a trade, brickie, plumber, whatever. But I didn't really want to do either of those. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. And my mum worked for Nationwide. She's worked there for about 30 years. So she said, "Well, why you decide what you want to do? Why don't you get a job there? It's a good place to get your foot in the door, give you a bit of experience in a big corporate company." So yeah, I joined there after sixth form at 17.
Amazing. And what you went from there to your latest role?
Yeah, correct. So I was there for about 3.5 years. COVID hit whilst I was there, working from home. Really didn't like working from home. Found it very boring. Just smelt like a bit of a small part in a big clog almost. I was a case manager, so I was a very small part of their mortgage process. Didn't really feel any fulfillment out of it, to be honest with you.
Got you. Interesting enough, you just mentioned the working from home thing because obviously I interview lots of people older and younger, and it's an issue at the moment in that trying to persuade everyone that it isn't always the way forward. I mean, so how do you feel like with your learning process and that kind of thing? How do you feel the differences between being with people in the office and that working from home environment?
I think you couldn't even state the difference, in my opinion. I do get I'm privileged enough to be in a position where I don't need to work from home. I I haven't got any children, haven't got many responsibilities apart from a house. The missus wants to get a dog, but I'm trying to persuade her not to do that because none of us are home. But I'm quite fortunate in that
It's
sense.
the worst nightmare when someone tells you they've just bought a dog and it's got anxiety, and then you end up
Yeah,
with the world's
exactly. It's got separation anxiety. Before you know it, it's yeah. But I think it's massive. I mean, the amount of stuff I've learned off the guys in the office is just, and vice versa. We all ping ideas off each other. We learn so much of each other. We've each naturally got our own areas that we specialise more in. I like to say I'm quite good at bridging, and I love all that side of things. And colleagues are maybe better at buy to lets or extra release, and it's just good to have that knowledge to bounce off each other, and you just learn so much more.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I hope everyone has that same answer. And I'll just clip all that
The
to every
controversial arguments
person.
that would be otherwise.
No, I don't think it's even controversial, but I honestly think if you are young enough to have started work in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, the majority of your work, that's all you've ever known. But obviously, we worked for 200 years before that, where it wasn't a problem if you had children or dogs or whatever, because you just went to work. But I agree with you about the learning side of things. You're obviously getting better at what you do because you're surrounded by the right people, right? And it's so hard to train people from home.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, it's even things I think subconsciously people don't realise as well. Like if I'm sat there doing a bit of work and my colleague's on the phone, subconsciously I am listening to what they're saying and
Yeah, yeah,
how they're speaking to a client or some of the things they mention. And I do take that in, and in the back of your head, you're like, oh yeah, I'll use that phrase or I'll pick up what they've said to them, and
100%.
yeah, it's like a sponge almost. You do just naturally absorb things, even if you don't always realise you're doing it.
Yeah, well, we always got to learn by osmosis. We're not sat there listening to each other all the time, but I 100% nick stuff off my colleagues. It sounds great, and they do the same thing. And especially when you're younger, you don't know what you don't know yet, right? There's so many different
Exactly.
nuances. I mean, you can teach someone how to broke. I think you could do that on a manual, but it's very different from actually doing the job. The different nuances of learning how someone talented speaks to people. I think it's huge. I got good at my job by being sat next to someone good at their job, but um, it's not always the case at the moment.
No, completely agree. As you say, I mean, I've always said this, but being a broker is definitely about being good with people. I mean,
Mm.
everyone's different. Each client needs a different way of dealing with them. Some needs more support. Some just need facts, cold hard facts. They don't care about the emotions. Some need some more emotional support. And as you say, you pick things up off colleagues, the way people deal with things, and the way people handle things. And it's just, let alone the knowledge, also just general communication and people skills.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So talk to me about what do you think would get more talent into the financial service industry? What is it that kind of, I mean, obviously most of us fall into it as well, right? But what do you think would attract maybe the younger generation, or what is it that isn't attracting them?
I think it's got this general kind of cliche that it's quite a boring industry. I would say, people think financial services, they think numbers, they think boardroom meetings and all that sort of thing. I mean, I know from when I was in school. I mean, I was only in school 7, 8 years ago, not even that.
Hmm.
I don't think I can recall anyone ever coming in to speak to me about a career in financial services or anything. It's never even crossed my mind. I never would even. My mum works in financial services, so I would have been more exposed to it than probably a lot of people,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it just wouldn't have even crossed my mind to have a career. So I think the first point I'd make is probably exposure to it.
yeah.
Second point, just general cliches and negative connotations of it being boring and not that
Mm.
interesting, and for older people, I would normally say
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
Well,
middle-aged to
it's
older
obviously right.
demographic.
Even when I speak to people who have been in it years, nobody talked about it at school. Do you know what I mean? No one, everyone pretty much fell into it. No one was like, "Oh, I can't wait to be a mortgage advisor."
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it never happened. But I mean, financially, obviously, there are massive benefits to being in financial services as well. You know, I'm sure you've come up with, especially as you can move up the ladder as well, right? There's a lot of careers where you're, like you said, there's nothing wrong with learning a different trade, but you're kind of doing that until you set up your own business, aren't you? There's not a great deal of growth. Um,
Completely agree.
Sorry, I don't have to interrupt you. I also want to talk to you about because, which I think is very impressive. You've taken on your own initiative, haven't you, for the fitness and finance side of things? Do you want to talk about that side of things and how that came about?
Yeah, of course. I've always been into my fitness since a young age. I'd say more
Oh,
recently.
angling, by the way, I can't get up there. I can't. You can't you've been smart with your camera angle. So I'll give you
I can take you on a client if you want some help. I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy
that.
to. No, I've always been interested in like the gym and all that stuff from a very young age. I'd say more recently, more health as well as just going to the gym as well. More interested in the health side of things lately as well. But I've always kind of wanted to do something on my own. It's my own kind of thing, my own baby, and
Yeah,
I don't think I'm nowhere near there yet in financial services. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough foot in the ground to go off and do my own thing, and that's something I do want to do in maybe 10 years' time or whatever. But I've always wanted to start something myself, and I thought, what am I passionate about, and what do I like doing? Thought fitness, love it. I work in financial services industry. I'm trying to network more. I want to get out there, and I know what I'm on about when it comes to fitness. So I thought, why not combine that expertise with something I'm trying to learn and grow in, and kind of mash the two together. I think also I've seen a market for it in terms of the general health and fitness of people in the industry. I think it's
yeah.
probably lower than average, just because, as I've said many times, just due to our jobs, we sit down
Sitting
for
around.
large hours of the day. I mean, it's easy, convenient to get meal deals when you're out, just simple things like that. So I thought there was a
Yeah.
market for it, something I'm passionate about, and I feel like I'm knowledgeable about.
So what does it entail? What are you doing for people?
So it's kind of online fitness coaching. I've started off at the moment just 10-week course, but I do plan to bring out new different avenues to it and products as it were. It's generally just about getting people to live a healthier, fitter lifestyle. Really, it
Yeah.
could be whether you want to train for a half marathon, whether you want to train for a marathon, where you want to get stronger in the gym, or genuinely just be healthier and happier. I mean, it all comes down to it. It depends what your goals are, but just
Live longer.
live longer, exactly, and live healthier as well. It's all good living to 100, but if you can't walk for the last 40 years of your life, what's the point? You know what I mean. So it's also about the healthier aspect as well. So it's
Yeah.
generally just.
Out of interest, how do you think that relates to your work environment now in regards to like fitness and because I'm a big believer in it. I love the fact that I love the discipline of it and that kind of thing. But how do you think the crossover is, if you like, into financial services from just living a better lifestyle?
I think the mental clarity. I mean, the sharpness as well. You got more energy. Your mind's sharper if you're fitter, in my opinion. I think it crosses over to any line of work, really. When you think about it, I mean, naturally, if you're in a healthier state and you can perform better, you're going to perform better at any mental task, no matter what your job is, whether you're a computer coder or whatever. So I think it's common sense applies that it will just make you better at your job.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's flip back to your day job on the commercial side of things. So, how easy was it for you to get a job outside of banking, obviously, because you've done that as a kind of as a junior? But how easy was it for you to get into the specialist finance world?
I was quite fortunate, really. Obviously, I had a good 3.5 years experience at a corporate like that, which looked good in my CV and all of
Yeah.
that. And it gave me a foothold to get into the business where I've been at Blueberry for 3.5 years now. Started off as a case manager, and I've been very fortunate that Blueberry have really supported me in becoming an advisor, and all of that side of
How long
things.
was that process? How long was the process from going from admin to broking?
About I'd say a year and 3 months, maybe a year and a half, and then last 2.5 years have been qualified, and I think that I needed that initial. I would highly recommend if someone's getting into it. It may feel like a bit of a slog at the start, maybe the pay's not as good, and maybe you feel like you're kind of stuck at a dead end, but it gives you that you need that year and a half to get good at those sorts of things. It gives you a good background of underwriting, packaging cases, all the things you're going to need to understand as a broker.
Yeah.
Eh,
That's a very mature way to look at it as well as a young man, because you speak to so many people who go, I want to be a six-figure broker. I mean, that's cool, but you don't know. Everyone does, right? And there's not many of them, if I'm honest. Everyone says they are, but
yeah,
there's not
yeah,
hundreds. But what having the actual foothold into like the admin side and that kind of thing. I know there's a few people on the podcast who are much senior who have said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with starting your career, taking a couple of years to actually learn the ropes. I think it is I mean, I'm speaking to a young guy now, but there is a perception of like short-term gratification as the younger generation come through. Kind of, you want everything a bit faster paced. So it's really interesting to hear that actually you took that time out to go, right, I know where I want to be, and it's going to take me X amount of years, as opposed to give it to me now.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think to anyone, there's a lad I go to the gym with, and he was working in a trade, and he said he wants to get into mortgages, and I said to him, you start as an admin, do a year as an admin, and then start learn your CMAP whilst you're doing it on the job,
Yeah,
and it will just give you such a better understanding, such a better appreciation for the job as well. The knowledge you'll learn from doing that, and it makes it so much easier when you come to City CMAP, when you come to give your first advice. You feel like you've done it all, apart from the advice piece. You've done the rest of it. You know what you're doing. It's just getting
yeah, yeah.
through with the advice and the people skills and all of that, which you'll build as an admin anyway. So I think it's massively undervalued.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I spoke to hundreds of business owners, and so, but again, it is a very mature way of looking at it. When you were 20 odd,
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
wanted to that you understand the importance of it. So, what advice would you give if someone wants to get into it at the moment? Obviously, we've said start from the bottom, but what skills do people need, and what do people need to really think about when it comes to joining the financial services industry?
I think you've got to be willing. I know we've already covered it at the start, to sacrifice a year or two, maybe just to start from the bottom and work your way up. I think you've got to be willing to sacrifice for it as well, and really dedicate yourself to it. Um, Again, I've only started doing it recently, but year and a half. But really network, get your name out there, speak to people, go to events, post on social media. And at first, when I first started doing it, I thought, oh God, is this, it's a bit. But then, once I got
Everyone
into
likes
it,
doing it. Everyone thinks it comes naturally to everyone. We're like,
yeah,
not natural for. I mean, it's probably more natural for you, right, than maybe the generation before, because I think the younger generation do naturally post online
yeah.
and let people know what they're doing on there. So it's probably easier to lean into. But I do understand what you're saying. It's very still quite daunting, isn't it? That
Yeah,
you're kind of giving advice online to someone you can't see.
yeah, definitely. I think people, naturally, people, there's always going to be ridicule and stuff like that, but that is what it is. That's just life. People always going to have opinions, so you're better off just sticking it to yourself. You're not going to remember what they said in a year's time anyway. So
We had the same conversation with someone yesterday. It was a mate. Sorry, this morning I filmed one. And she's incredible, and she was just like, "Who cares what people that aren't more successful than you think?" Like that doesn't make any. And they're the ones that generally moan about your stuff, right?
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, I think in terms of what it takes to get into financial services, stick at it, just keep dedicated, keep working hard, and I think you can work your way up. Really, I love being in the specialist side of things. I think it's so much more interesting.
That's just cooler, isn't it?
It's
It's not afraid to say it, it's just more
it's
fun.
better, isn't it? The money's better. It's much more fun, and it's difficult. It is hard, but it's so
Yeah.
rewarding when you do
Mm.
get stuff across the line and you make things happen. It can be soul destroying.
You know the reason I love commercial, and I said this, yeah, it's hard, right? I mean,
Yeah,
every job is hard. Doesn't matter what we're doing, we're not digging holes. But I love commercial because, and this is not disparaging to resi brokers because I work with hundreds of them, but you're not dealing with Doris's mortgage where it's just an emotional sale. Like it's a commercially savvy. I'll make X, you make X, they make X, we all make money, and then
yeah.
everyone's happy. It's not maybe not as much as an emotional sale as more of a commercially aware one, which does make a difference, right? You're working with business people every day, so it's not an easier transaction. It's just a completely different transaction when it's not emotionally led. Your house.
Completely agree. Yeah, it's completely different, two different ponds, that's for sure.
So, do you think there are any barriers for young people to get into the industry at the moment, or what do you see as being the problem?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say there's many barriers. Maybe that's me being naive, and maybe I haven't experienced any. But from my
I suppose it's hard to say, isn't it? Because you've come from one to the other. You've been fortunate enough to move that way, but
yeah,
um, you must see it with people trying to get in, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're based on the south coast in like Dorchester. I mean, it's a tiny little village, like town. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? There isn't many brokerages around here. I mean, you go Bournemouth, Southampton way. There's loads, but we're probably about 50 minutes from Bournemouth, about an hour and a bit from Southampton. So this way, there's not really much. So that I'd say geographically speaking, there might be a bit of a limitation
yeah.
for young people
But you
down
don't
here.
see barriers for entry level. You think it's relatively you can do it. I mean, you've done it, haven't you? So it's hard for you to say otherwise.
Yeah. I would say there's opportunities coming up and left, right, and centre. Like going back to my friend that I go to see at the gym sometimes. He was literally a builder, and he got a job as an admin at a mortgage company, and he has
Have you done it?
no prior experience at all,
Amazing.
and he's 20 years old. So you know what I mean. If someone with no prior experience can do that, and if you have to
Yeah,
start at a big corporate, just being like an application vetter, just keying information, things like do that for 6 months.
yeah,
That's what I started doing at Nationwide when I was 17. I just used to keep keying different cases. I mean, it was mind numbing, really boring,
yeah.
but
But
you know,
it's the difference between having a long term goal and wanting to be it right now. I think, and I do think that's potentially a barrier that isn't financial services' fault. Probably isn't the younger generation's fault. It's just that it is a generation of watching people succeed really quickly on YouTube.
yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I think you
yeah,
see it
yeah.
every day. When they're like, well, he's an influencer and they earn good cash, but actually, like to earn money is difficult, and you've got to start from the bottom. So but yeah, it's easy to talk to you about it because you've done it the right way, and you obviously have a very mature attitude about it when you were younger.
Yeah.
Do you think it helped that your mum was in it? Do you think that put you in good stead, or did it give you any decent exposure, or were you not really involved in what she did?
I wasn't from a young age, if I'm honest, but I think the fact that she said, "Oh, why didn't you do that?" If she wasn't in that role, then I probably would have never gone for a job at Nationwide and got it. It wasn't something I was
Yeah,
overly enthusiastic about at the time. I thought, "Oh, I'll just do it till I kind of work out what I want to do." And
yeah,
fortunate enough, it kind of it's worked out well. It's worked out well the journey it's gone on. But I'd probably say if she wasn't, then who knows if I'd be in this
yeah.
industry, to be honest. So
I think you touched on something interesting earlier on about just not knowing about it. I think there is a financial services side of things where we need to be educating people from a younger age. Do you think do you think that'd be relevant to you or to you, a younger you, where you could have actually seen some pathways? Because, like you say, it's relatively untalked of. No one talks about being a broker in school. There are traditional roles for people, but actually, financial services falls under the radars, particularly outside of privately educated schools.
completely agree. Completely. I've actually emailed my old school because I want to go do a talk there to the sixth formers, like the year 12, which is your first year of sixth form, just because I just want to give a talk. Say, this is what I do. It's career in financial. I used to be in your literally 7, 8 years ago. I was sat exactly where you're sat right now, and I didn't have a clue
Yeah,
about any of this. And even if one person, I mean, it's a big school. Even if one person out of the 500 kids goes, "Oh, do you know what? I quite like the look of that." And I think in schools there's a massive pressure to kids to go to university now. I mean, they really do, because it works out for them. They get more funding if more of the kids go to university and grades. So it's a dog eat dog world. But I think there's a lot of pressure on kids to go to university now, and there's nothing wrong with going to university. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a teacher, go to university. But if you're just going to go to university because you don't know what you want to do, you've got to think, is that the right decision for you?
Yeah, especially now, it's a big financial decision as well.
Massive financial decision, especially when that's 3-4 years where you could have been progressing up the ladder in a career doing something else.
Realistically, we have people that want university qualified people. All they do is they start in admin, and you could have started there. You could have started there before without the £100,000 debt.
Yeah, exactly, and been earning money the whole time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Cool. That's really useful. They're genuinely, like, I didn't know what to expect from these. These are brand new, but it's been really good talking to you. If you can give one last bit of advice to maybe the young you when you started, what would you have done differently? Last question.
What I've done differently? Worked harder from a younger age. At Nationwide, worked harder at a younger age, because I feel like I could be even further ahead than I already am now.
Amazing. Good answer. Good. Cool. I hope they're all as easy as this one, because you're my first of the Rising Stars. But that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Sam. And obviously, all Sam's socials will be on our socials. So if you want to get in contact with him and have any kind of conversations, particularly young people who are looking to get in, I don't know who actually looks at this outside of financial services, but if your kids are looking, or whatever it may be, it would be great to get in contact with people like Sam, just to run through how they got in and the kind of the wins and losses that it takes to become successful. Thank you very much for your time, Sam. I really appreciate it today.
Cheers for having me, mate. Really appreciate it as well.
No problem at all. Great to see you.
See you later, mate.
Today I have got George from Avonmore. Thanks for joining me, George.
Hi, Marcus. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. These are new for me, so we're learning as we go. But so just talk to me about what you do at Avonmore.
Yeah, so I have been at Avonmore for 2 years now. I started as, I guess, an internal relationship manager, as we call it, which in some ways is a bit like a credit analyst. So I looked after brokers in London and the South East under Cameron Levitt here, who some may know. And my job was to respond to the inquiries while he's out, on meetings and things, and essentially present the deals to credit. So I would have to do all the background searches, scour the Daily Mail, and
all the hard work while Cam was out.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I've got to credit him, obviously, for his mentorship. We come from both quite similar backgrounds, both estate agents before joining Avonmore, and he's been very helpful indeed. But so I did that for 2 years, basically presenting the deals to credit every day, and then now since January I've been out on the road myself in Wales in the southwest as a relationship manager, or BDM, as most would say.
Amazing. Is that are you there? Where do you live?
So I live in London, as I've done for the last sort of 5 years. I'm from down by Gatwick Airport originally, in a town called Horsham. I moved to London about 5 years ago, but I'm always on the M4. The last couple of days I've been out in Cardiff, and
we'll go through that actually, because there is it's a tough gig going into BDMing, and I don't think everyone sees that, but we will run through that. But let's talk about how you got into financial services. You mentioned estate agency. Talk to me about that kind of the journey from where you were to how you got into financial services.
Yeah, so I guess it's it all goes back to university really. I did economics at university in Southampton. I was going to go into tax.
My stomping ground.
Yeah. Well, not too far. I was in Portswood. I'm sure you know well. Yeah. And I was going to go into property tax after that. I had it sort of lined up. I'll be honest, when I did sort of internships there, I spent a lot of time looking on Rightmove thinking, oh, this is fun. And the tax bit was a bit boring. But that was the plan anyway. I wanted to move to London. That's what I was going to do after uni. COVID cut that short. So my third year was during 2020. So I went home. All the sort of grad schemes and things were put on hold for a year. So it was sort of back to the drawing board. I didn't want to do a master's or sort of wait around for a year. I just wanted to get on with things. And the only things recruiting at the time in the pandemic was sort of sales roles, and it was either property or recruitment. And I thought about recruitment.
You don't need to be a scumbag just yet. You need.
Well, I kind of figured, at the moment, if you're in recruitment, you'll only be recruiting estate agents, because that was the only other job there. Selling Sunset was big at the time on Netflix. I used to watch all those other daytime shows and things. So I got into it.
Well, not quite the same as selling Horsham.
No. Or Peckham. It was Peckham in the end, in South East London. Yeah, a very charming place. but not quite the same as Los Angeles, I'm afraid. So yeah, I got into that. Went to work for Foxtons for 3 years, down in Peckham and also Dulwich, which is quite nice. And driving around, I wasn't a very good driver when I sort of left uni. And
So how old were you then?
so it would have been probably about 21, I'd imagine. Yeah, I'm 26 now. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. So it was a bit of a trial by fire, sort of navigating the roads of London, and it means now I don't mind at all driving down to Cardiff or wherever for 4 hours because I'm sort of used to it. But yeah, I did that for 3 years, and it sort of became quite after a while, and Foxton's got a reputation for being quite tough, and it was.
Yeah. It's
I
a good learning place, though, isn't it?
definitely, yeah. I meet loads of people that come from the same background, and they all say the same thing. So really good training, which I think stood me in good stead going forward. But yeah, it sort of got to the point where I'd done it for 3 years. There's only so many 2-bed council flats in Peckham you can sell. Really, it gets a little bit boring, and it's got a slog. It's a bit of a hamster wheel. You're a cog in a large wheel. A very good company to work for, but I sort of lost that personality, I think, and almost free will, I suppose. It's very sort of paint by numbers of what to do every day, open doors and whatnot. So I was looking to be a broker, actually. I was applying for sort of asset finance, invoice finance, and then I was approached by Evermore, and here we are now, I guess, 2 years later. It's gone all right, the interview.
Yeah. Well, obviously they recommended you for it, so clearly a rising star.
Yeah.
It's really awkward, actually, is no one really recommended themselves, and I wanted them to. I wanted people to say, I want to do it, but it's a difficult thing to go, me, I am.
I've never been a podcast guest before, so it's on the bucket list tick.
Yeah.
But it's my hinge.
Okay, so talk to me about kind of what do you think the issue is? Because obviously I talk to business owners all the time, right? And one of the pain points is we really struggle with getting the next generation of talent into financial services. Why do you think that's an issue? And what can we be doing, do you think, better to kind of attract the right talent?
I think there's probably a misconception about the barriers to entry. I thought when I was an estate agent that I thought I've sort of in a way regressed after 3 years. That it's so competitive, I guess, these days for any kind of job. But also when you go on, say, LinkedIn or whatever, you just see the list of requirements and you think, well, I haven't done that, I haven't got that experience. Every entry level job requires 2 years experience, so you're always trying to find
the irony that is not lost in recruitment, that you want someone with 5 years experience to that
was always the issue, that you're trying to find the bottom of the ladder, so you don't quite know where to start. And luckily, as I say, I signed up. I think the best thing that people can do, and I tell all my friends who are looking for new jobs, is just to sign up with a recruiter, speak to a recruiter in an industry you're interested in, and it takes the pressure off. I was sending off applications all over the shop, and you don't hear back a lot of the time.
I think the difference is if you've got a professional going, this guy's got something about him, it's very different with the relationships that we have with people that, they'll listen a bit more. Like it's so hard to distinguish between CVs for, 19, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. So you're right, it's very hard. You can't get your personality across on a CV, I suppose.
Exactly.
Especially if it's that relationship management type role.
Yeah, so I guess it proves why we need them in both recruitment and in lending, I suppose.
Amen.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the key, is that you just need to give people the opportunity to express themselves, and it's not just, it's not binary, it's not what A levels did they get, what GCSEs, did they get this qualification or this mark. I know loads of people here at Avonmore did the it's a master's course in Reading.
Yeah.
And obviously it helps, it's a good thing, but to be quite honest, to work here, and I'm sure across the industry, you don't need anything really. I think
funny enough, isn't it? I was talking about this with someone earlier on, and they went straight from sixth form in, and they said if I'd spent those 3 years in university, I probably would have the same job now, just 3 years behind. Yeah. Because the entry level jobs are entry level, and you get in. I mean, obviously, it's always going to be beneficial to have that graduate scheme because it shows you can learn, right? I think that's the main thing. It shows you can retain information. But you're also still starting at the bottom of the ladder when you come out, aren't you?
Yeah, no, exactly. I've got friends still graduating in their late 20s, and they're sort of going, they've had a good time, but it's time to get serious.
Yeah, great. You get 9 years worth of money you've missed. But so talk to me about what would you kind of recommend for business owners and that kind of thing. I know you said it's just not really well thought of. I think one of the things that's coming up is that, like in school, no one really talks about it, unless you go to a particularly good school. I suppose in economics it's a bit different when you go to uni, but we don't really talk about broking or lending or anything like that. It's not like it's not a brought up subject in school. Do you think there's stuff we could be doing as an industry to to better that?
I suppose so. It's difficult, isn't it? How do you get the exposure on the industry? That's the key, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a fun industry to be in. Let's be honest. I see you.
But it doesn't seem fun from the outside, does it? I think that's the implication.
Well, I guess it's doing things like this, and you know, there's a lot of people on LinkedIn posting quite a bit. How do you get that more into the limelight? You want to make it an option for people. Is that what you're saying? You want people to think this is something you can go and do. I guess it's
and maybe take the boringness out of it, because it does sound boring. Money is not interesting.
It's a dry subject.
I suppose it's very different from an economics background. A lot of people are pushed into finance from that side anyway.
Yeah.
But without that, if you're going straight from college or whatever it is, it doesn't sound very exciting. And it's a great opportunity. One, financially, you know, it's a fantastic opportunity for people. But also, it's just an exciting industry. But it's only like old people saying it doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
No, it's true. I agree. And I tell everyone, you know, that all my friends see all the stuff we get up to and think, you know, you've done somehow landed on your feet, you know, doing quite well there, and you can be very successful in this industry.
Yeah.
I guess at the same time, it is a small industry, isn't it? So it's about how do you make that bigger?
Yeah.
Everyone sort of knows everyone.
Well, it's shrinking all the time. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing things like this.
Yeah.
This is a genuine pain point for people, that we're just not getting as many people through the door as we would have perhaps even, well, pre-COVID even. So let's talk about your job role. So obviously BDM, you're a young BDM, right? I mean, but they're very good at that there, aren't they? If you look at Cam, he's come through the ranks quite quickly. If you're good at it, they're happy to kind of push you through. But what do you think the traits are that will make you successful in that role from a young age?
Yeah, I guess, and it doesn't really matter about age, I suppose, but you just got to be a good communicator. You know, I always think that the main thing is you just got to be able to pick up the phone to someone. And I know people are going to be rolling their eyes listening to this, thinking, well, he's not picked up the phone just now, but you know, sorry, I'll call you back in a minute. You've got to be responsive. You know, people always joke in relationships, communication is key, but it is. And
do you think the communication? Because I was brought up on picking up the phone, right? And everyone my age, everyone 35 plus, was brought up on that. But people communicate differently now as well, right?
Yeah, so it's all WhatsApps and texts.
Exactly. So are we teaching people a dying art, or do you think it's always going to be? I mean, I believe that we should be getting it out in front of people all the time. But is it a dying art? Are we trying to force something on a next generation who maybe don't communicate the same way we did?
I think. And I can look back on myself. Before I went to Foxtons, I was almost hesitant to pick up the phone. I think a lot of people my age, they don't like phone calls, and certainly like cold calling, or even if someone calls you and you're not prepared for it, there's a weird sort of psyche about that.
Yeah, there's a bit of stigma to it.
But I think having done that, and I suppose Cameron did that as well. You know, I was out with the broker on Tuesday. He used to work at a call centre himself in sales before. So I think those kind of roles, when it's your job to call pretty much every day, you sign it. I guess you get used to it, right? So maybe that's why people at Avonmore have come from, I guess, estate agency or sales backgrounds, and then at a young age gone to be a BDM because they pick up the phone. But I think it's crucial to do that. You know, it doesn't quite translate over an email, does it? And also the face-to-face meetings as well are vitally important. So.
And how has the face-to-face meetings? How has that gone from being on the phone?
Yeah.
To then being face-to-face? Although, like, I know it's not an age thing because you're very articulate and you can obviously do the role, but you are still speaking to older brokers who go, you haven't been in it that long. Yeah,
I mean, there's an element of you have got to kind of fake it till you make it, right? I mean, I'm on it. That's the other side of the coin about being a good BDM. You just got to be honest. I mean, I say that to them. I don't know everything. I know I've not worked for any other lender. I know how Avonmore work. I've been here for 2 years, sort of behind the scenes. Yeah. I know it pretty well, so I can tell you what we can do. You know, but in a way, every time I have a meeting, it's actually to find out about them and about anyone else in the industry. It's for my knowledge. You know, I tell them a little bit about Avonmore on a meeting, and hopefully we do business. But what I get out of it is actually, more learning and knowledge for myself than for them.
I think that's really important as well. Do you know what? I bet this is going to be a common theme. This is only a couple into this, but the rising stars that I'm speaking to are all saying about learning. You know, having to keep learning. Keep trying to better yourself. I think that is a good value of that generation. How do you feel? This always sounds very. So we are now moving into a short-term gratification type generation, right? And it's not no one's fault. I think it's social media.
Yeah.
It shows you that you can, become an influencer in 5 minutes, earn money.
Yeah.
But you've learned now that it's graft, right? You started at the bottom, you've worked your way up steadily over 2 years, and you'll continue to do so.
Yeah.
How do we nullify the fact that there is so many people that want to be a BDM right now? They want to be on 80 grand right now when they're actually they don't understand that it's a relatively it's a hard career path and you've got to work at it.
Yeah, I agree. How did you get around it?
There's no right answer either.
No. I mean, we all want it, right? I think you really know that unless you go on Love Island or The Traitors or something, it's not going to be overnight. And also, I know people who've been on those shows and it doesn't last, So the money dries up quickly. So I think it's also about satisfaction. I genuinely enjoy and always have done working at Avonmore and doing this job in particular, this new role. So that's the gratification I get, that I actually enjoy. I enjoy speaking to people and doing the fun things that we do get up to. The loans are quite fun as well, some of the quirky deals and stuff. But so I think it's just what do you get out of it? Yes, is it money? Yes, is it the role? But what not everyone is a good BDM. We've got some great people at Avonmore, great underwriters, asset managers, but they would struggle with that, and I couldn't do that. That's for sure. Yeah. So I think what are you good at? What do you enjoy? And take your time with it. I mean, I've been lucky at Avonmore. As I say, I've been two years here, 26 years old, and I'm a BDM now. So I guess
that's what I mean. They moved up the ladder fairly steadily there, don't they? So I don't know if that's a conscious decision because younger people probably need more progression than maybe we did. I think we were more financially led as youngsters when I was in my 20s. I just wanted to earn more however I could. I think people want to. I think there's a different value set now, maybe, that you want to feel valued and you want to feel that you're progressing.
Yeah, it's about, I guess, getting back the life balance, work-life balance. I mean, technically we work from home on Fridays. I'm here now in the office, a bit of a dress down. So
we'll talk about the working from home thing in a minute, because I think it's a very interesting thing, and I think it's the same for both generations, in that we are being selfish from working from home because we learned off someone. But at the same time, I'm speaking to guys in their 20s who want to work from home all the time. What do you think the difference is between you going in the office and being surrounded by people to you maybe starting that job as an internal, off of learning off teams and that kind of thing?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. I mean, we only work from home on Friday technically, but I'm often in the office. There's a small contingent that do, because we just like the atmosphere, and it's still peaceful and quiet. I think the best
close to the pub, isn't it?
Yeah. How can you tell? What? I think especially because I'm coming into it, into the industry, and the same for anyone in any role in the industry. You just want to be surrounded by people to bounce off of. So I'm chatting to the credit guys now. Quick 5-second conversation. Could we do this deal? Whereas if I'm sat at home, I've got to call someone up. They've got to be free. They're probably in the shower or making a coffee or tossing about. So I think it's definitely better to be in the office personally. I think I actually enjoy the atmosphere of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm in my 20s. I'm sure when I'm 45 or 50 and I've got kids running around to look after, whatever, I probably would think differently. So it's about that work-life balance. But at the moment, I just want to be around everyone else and sort of learning. And I think it's just more efficient to get stuff done.
100%. I don't think that people... Well, I've done it before. I've had a working from home team, and it was through COVID. And I honestly think that we'll still have that team if they could have just been in the office. Well, I mean, we call it learning by osmosis. You're just sat near good people, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just get to hear it, and you miss all the nuances of the little bits that you can't train someone on, or you don't think to put it in a training manual. I think that's the important bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So, talk to the BDM roles. Let's dispel the myth that people go to BDM roles because it's nice to go see brokers and give donuts and coffee. It's a tough gig, right? And I speak to BDMs who have been doing it 15, 20 years, and it's hard. But there is this perception of, you just pop out and see people. But there's so much more to being actually developing business, isn't there? Rather than, it's not the donuts.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I guess as part of a small company and having done this previous role under Cameron, we still do all the other sort of side of things, even up to underwriting and dipping our toe in that. So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility. I think people maybe don't realise. They think you're the sort of face of the business, but with that, there's a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
The worst thing we can do is let people down or overpromise and underdeliver. What was I going to say? There was.
So just in regards to it's not your 9 to 5, is it? I think that's the thing that
Oh
people
yeah.
yeah, you're not.
You
You've got to do your job when you get in from work.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
said.
And also you've got to have a social battery. I mean, myself and the other George here at Avonmore, we're both at the same kind of level, newly promoted BDMs. We were sort of saying, we're trying to catch up on our personal lives, but there's just no time at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got bills to pay and God knows what.
Well, he's sounding old already.
Yeah,
It's like an old
we've
BDM.
got to organise our events with mates and stuff. But at the moment, it's about seeing brokers, travelling is a lot of it. I think you've just got to. It's having the energy and to being able to present to
Yeah.
people and have the knowledge to know who you're meeting.
I think I agree with the energy, and I don't think energy is an age thing because I speak to people of every generation. It is just about, especially in sales roles, especially being in front of people, and that's the only 10 minutes they're going to have with you that whole time. You've got to keep your energy up, haven't you? It's constant. It's exhausting, even if you're generally an energetic person. It's a lot because I don't think you can give a bad service by having a bad day, whereas they don't know you're having a bad day, so you've got to pick it up for everyone, haven't you? It's a much more arduous task than I think people give it credit for. I think people have a perception of BDMs that it's just nice to go out travelling and eating out and that kind of thing.
You have also got to do the deals at the end of the day and be able to and you've got to be able to back up everything you say and everything you sell, right? I can't be out there saying, yeah, we do this, send me that, do that, and then not do it. When I get home from work at 8 o'clock, when I've driven back from Cardiff, whatever, it's then right, get the emails out, let's have a look, and then first thing in the morning you're chasing things up. So
do you think is there ever like an authority type issue with the age side of things, or do you think people bought into you because they know you, and obviously you probably work with some of these guys internally as well?
Yeah, that obviously helped, having been sort of internal. I know a lot of the London brokers and across the southeast. So when I see them at events at the moment, it's about trying to get myself out there in Wales and Southwest, and it is difficult because I appreciate for all the brokers I see, they've got 100 BDMs that are pestering them to see them. So I'm fully aware I'm one of many cowboys trying to visit their town. But and that's the thing. So it is hard to crack. I think maybe if people haven't heard of Avonmore or heard of me, then
I find bizarre, by the way, because I'm so entrenched in the industry that when someone says it's like someone hasn't heard of a certain broker or hasn't heard of a certain lender, I'm like, where have you been? But I suppose
so many of them,
because you're my clients, right? So their clients are someone completely different, so they don't have to be as entrenched as I am. But I always think it's bizarre that people don't know the industry or don't know the big players. I always find that
it is such a saturated market. I mean, I don't even know them all, I'll be honest.
Yeah. 240 lenders, name them now.
I'm still working on it. But
I guess the other thing as well, I have been doing it 15 years, so I should probably know most people.
Yeah. Well, more and more come and go, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, BDM wise, I'd say some people, and maybe it's the older brokers, but I think actually the other issue is you catch people on the wrong day, right? You've always got to catch someone. It's all about timing. You've got to catch someone at the right time and find a time that suits for everyone. I think at the moment it's maybe more difficult for face-to-face meetings. I think some people want Teams ones. It's maybe, I don't know, people aren't as open to doing it, I don't think, as maybe they're used to.
Yeah.
So
do you think that is? Do you think that's just time thing, or?
Yeah, I think it's time. It also ties in with sort of the working from home culture. A lot of the brokers deal with aren't in an office; they're at home. I've swung by the house and sat in the shed sometimes. And I think
some big brokers over that way, haven't you? It's
a fantastic patch that I've got some really good clients, and it's going well so far. But there's still loads I haven't spoken to. I've only been doing this role rather for 5 months, I suppose, and I'll speak
to you again in 5 years. You look 100. You go.
I'm already getting the Gordon Ramsay 6-pack on the forehead coming.
That goes after 2.
Yeah.
So I've kept you for longer than I said I would, but it's been genuinely interesting. I think all of these are, hopefully, business owners are going to really take a lot from these. But if you can give character trait, I'll give you 2 more questions actually. What character traits would you say are important for someone that wants to come into like a financial services sales role?
in the sales role in particular, was that sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to be quite dynamic. You've got to be able to adapt pretty quickly to changing. I mean, in terms of lending, changing credit appetite. If for some reason we're not going to do these kind of loans one day, you've got to be able to sort that out, and you've got to communicate that. You've got to be able to navigate the market, I suppose, and look ahead and be able to be aware of it. So I'm always reading the news. So I think that's the key. You've got to be quite dynamic and be able to adapt quite quickly, and also just be willing and make an effort, be hardworking. That's cliche, isn't it? And cringy, but
it is. But you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Like it's hard work will get you much further than being talented. It's just true.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think if you've got all the right traits but you're not working hard, people will look at you. I think if you're not quite there yet, but you're working your ass off, people will give you a little bit more leeway to get into the position you need to be in.
And I think certainly our brokers notice that. I think they appreciate it. And as you're going back to what you said before about older brokers, they know I don't know everything, but they know I'm trying. So
you work hard.
Yeah.
It does it makes a huge difference. You want people to succeed who are working hard. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. You think, I want to help that guy because he's grafted. You know what I mean? And you want that. So the last question for you, because I have gone over, but I do appreciate your time. If you're giving one bit of advice to someone who was looking to get into financial services, what's the one thing that you think would be beneficial to them when it comes to being able to get into an FS role?
It's a plug for you, this, but I was going to say sign up to a recruiter.
Yeah, great answer. I'm going to cut it there. That's going to be like the headline of every one. But you're right. But not just recruiters as well. Like speak to people in the industry as well, right?
And I had that actually after I left Hutchkins about a year ago. I remember the particular people were sort of reaching out saying, "Oh, I saw you went on to do this," and and I was having like an hour phone call on a Tuesday night all about it, and then they ended up going, I think, to other lenders actually. But definitely go and speak to people that that are in the industry. The key is to find the bottom of the ladder, generally, and it is tough. But almost put yourself out there. I think it really helps having the recruiters to guide you onto that.
Amazing. And thank you very much for your time today, George. Like I said, hopefully people will find this beneficial. I was going to say people looking to join financial services, but it may be their parents that showed them this because only financial services people will watch it. But it's been really useful. Hopefully some business owners find that useful as well, just about how to kind of generate that interest in the next generation. I will watch your career closely. I'm sure you'll be flying up through the ladder, but I will catch up with you soon.
Yeah. Cheers, Marcus. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, George. Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.